Okay guys, I got a brainwave, and you'd think I would have learned better from Rick the Fix's accident there, but here I'm handling glass. Could have shattered, you know, the rear window isn't safety glass, so it easily could have shattered into a million pieces. So for the front window, I got my full face shield, brand new one actually, and I make sure I have that on anytime I'm working with this glass. Even though it's safety glass, there are still splinters that can come off of it if it decides to break on me. We'll see what happens here, but yeah, it's going to be a long and dull process, but hey, I'll try and babble to keep you guys interested. So I was talking about the, I'm just cleaning off the window so that these suction cups will work better with it. I'm going to try the same technique that I did with the back window, which was to cut the outside edge out and then just kind of pull it along as I gently kind of cut it with the knife. But in any case, I was talking about the truck projects. That one behind the shop, as much as I'd like to turn it into an extended cab, and when I talked about extending the frame by 8 inches, I've got a long wheelbase frame there, which means that between the cab, well, between the actual wheelbase is actually 12 inches longer than the short box. So the idea was, you leave it, is it 12 or is it 10? I think it's actually 10. I'll have to go and check that out, but regardless, the idea was that I would change to a short box, whack a little bit off the rear end of the frame, add a little bit in the middle. Now where the hell did I put my knife? Oh, Jesus. Insert a little bit in between the frame, you know, and have a cab that's 18 inches longer and you know, hopefully a fair bit more useful. Now, I'm just cutting that outside edge again. We'll see how this goes. This cab might be actually kind of rusty. I'm looking at it here. What oftentimes happens with these cabs, and I'm by no means an expert on this, but what oftentimes happens with these cabs is because there's actually a seam. The drip rail is actually a spot welded seam, and between the roof and the rest of the cab, and as a result, there's actually you know, a spot welded gap there and all that sort of thing there. But what happens is there's seam sealer in there, and that seam sealer occasionally, you know, doesn't seam seal quite so well and lets water in. And what ends up happening is it collects inside the roof, because there's actually a double shell in these things, where there's actually an inner steel roof on these ones. You know, on the custom versions, which is basically what we call the base level class, there's nothing up there other than the steel, which is usually painted body color, but well, always painted body color, quite frankly. But in any case, what happens is that it leaks up in the drip rail, up in here, and it collects in kind of the in between the two layers of steel, and it rots it out above the windshield. And I'm seeing some of the seam sealer up here is bubbling, and on the actual inside of the truck, I can see the actual gasket is bubbling a bit. So this cab may not be as useful as I think, which is unfortunate. It's kind of hard to find these cabs. Nobody's reproducing the actual cab yet. You can get a full floor piece. You can get most of the patch pieces. You can get even a patch for the roof where it rusts out. You know, so it's not completely hopeless, but you know, who wants to be fixing rust? You know, you got a big enough project as it is in trying to make a, you know, a crew cab. Now it looks like this one somebody has put some put some sealer in here. I might, just before I put this one in to that cab, I might just have to make sure that that people aren't putting sealer in there just because, well, because it's a problem. You know, I think a lot of people think that it's the leaking windshield that causes that rust out on the roof, but I'll almost 100% guarantee you that that rust out is caused by the seam sealer going south on you. I don't have my visor down. Don't get too grumpy with me. I'm not going to put it down until I'm actually yanking on the window. Yeah, it's a little bit harder. I really don't want to nick this windshield glass because that's the one that's going to crack. That's also the more expensive one to replace. And I don't have, you know, other than pulling the windshield out of the Suburban, I don't have another one that I can pull the glass out of, because the one behind the shop I don't want to pull the glass out of it because then the interior is open to the weather. And I would prefer that the cab not rust out any more than it has already in case I end up using, you know, all or part of it. Definitely I've seen some people do some different things when it comes to doing custom trucks in this. You know, like Slow SRT's working on Project Broadside there, and that's a nice project he's doing there, and all that. I would like to do the extended cab. It would definitely be unusual. There would not be many of them. There were actually, if you see any extended cabs in the 72 or 67 to 72 trucks, no such thing as a factory one. Those were all done by companies, typically working for forestry, who were converting them into extended cabs, and they're actually pretty recognizable. They just literally extended the cab, and they put some little porthole windows on it that look like they came out of a camper or something like that. And I think they're probably fairly rare. Some of the more creative things I've seen people do to make a extended cab out of one of these is, and it's probably a lot less work than trying to, you know, modify the cab like I've been describing, but they've actually taken a Suburban, like the one I got sitting there, and cut them off and rounded up the rear windows and gotten rid of the third door. And I guess they're okay. You know, like, I'm pretty fussy about what I want. So I would want it to look pretty much factory, and I don't think that I've seen one yet that looks factory. Certainly those, you know, forestry conversion ones definitely don't look factory. And the converted Suburban ones, I'm gonna have to go and see if I can find some pictures of one. If I can have another look at one, because I haven't actually looked for that for a while now. But those ones, I haven't been too happy with how those ones look either. I don't remember what it was that bothered me about it. I think it was probably that it's always going to be the rear windows is the problem. Like the back set of windows in the extended cab part, that's going to be hard to make look right. Because nobody wants to go and do something custom, and you're always going to have a bitch of a time with well, your glass. Now that I see this, oops, what I see somebody has done is probably the windshield was leaking in this thing at some point, and what they did is they peeled back the weather stripping, and they squirted some silicone, you know, in between. Yeah, I don't know if you can see me over here, but you know, squirted some silicone or some kind of, maybe it's even plumber putty in that gap to try and seal it off a bit. I'm gonna talk to some people. There's a truck board called 67 to 72 Trucks Board. If you're a truck fan or a fan of these trucks, it's a good board. Lots of very knowledgeable people. Way more than me. Anything I learned about these trucks came off of that board. So it's definitely worth joining. And I think they always appreciate new members. And it's a good family-friendly board. You know, like they always try to keep it pretty clean there. I've never had any complaints about anything that anybody's done. Well, and any time that there was anything that happened that wasn't good, the mods and that are quick to step in and clean up. Okay, now the top of this windshield is a bit more of a bitch. I got it all cut all the way around except the top. I'm having a bit of a problem here. So, regardless. I've been noticing a lot of people putting up a lot more long videos. Watched all the VW Darrens. I think I caught them up this morning when I was after I exercised, or actually tried watching on a little tablet PC, BlackBerry Playbook, and it's damn handy. But when you're jogging on the stupid treadmill, it's bouncing around a bit, kind of hard to hear, so it doesn't work as well as I would have liked. I suppose I could have grabbed headphones, but whatever. Well, this has been a real pig. But yeah, I guess he was at a painting trade show, automotive paint trade show, bodywork paint show, whatever you want to call it. That looked pretty interesting. Got to see some of the sights around there on his drive home there. That was interesting as well. Interesting to see other places I haven't been to. I've never been to Florida. I'm going to try from this side to see if I can get a little bit more of this stuff peeled off. Hot as hell in here, as you might expect. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit tricky here. And HPR likes to put out long videos as well. It's interesting. A lot of times I may not necessarily be watching it, but I've got it playing in the background so I can hear what he's saying. It's always interesting to hear what's going on with people. Here, this thing cracking away. It's not the glass that's cracking, it's all the dirt and corruption that's falling up between the weather strip and the body of the truck falling out and skittering down the windshield. Nothing like that to get your attention. I'm just pulling this stuff off. Once you get it started, it seems to pull off fairly well. This might be an appropriate point to start wearing my shield though. This isn't the first one of these I pulled out. This is about the third windshield I pulled out. The first one not so successfully, but it was broken, and it was me just trying it to see how it came out for future reference. And then at one point I had a 71 Jimmy project. It was actually not a bad vehicle. It was in running order, and I used to, just tool around on the farm with it just for the fun of it. I don't know if I saved any of those videos. It was before I was posting on YouTube, so I don't have a good place for it. Yeah, I can see up here, right above the driver, on the driver's side, right above that it's this cab is a little bit rusty right up in here. Now, typically the place that you notice it is on the inside. So when I pull the glass out, successfully or not, we'll pull the weather stripping up and we'll have just a quick squiz at this, and you guys can see what I mean about where these are rusted. Or we'll go up and we'll look at that blue cab or turquoise cab that's sitting out back, because that one, it's got it really bad. Windshield. That was the one I practiced on removing the windshield on. But that actually, the windshield out of that gray cab went in the 71 Jimmy, because it had a broken windshield. And around here you can't register a vehicle with a broken window. Okay, so all the weather stripping is out. So I'm gonna just try and work it around the edges here and just see if I can pull it out. I might just see if I can trim some of this back. The light isn't 100% in the right position for me to be able to see very well exactly what's left here. I'll start at the bottom. The bottom is completely trimmed away. I'm just going to wet the windshield and wipe it off, and then I'll apply my suction cups, and we'll see if we can work this a bit. It's going to be a bit of a circus getting it out, because this thing is right up against the back wall of the container here. If you got the room for it, they're a good thing to have. Cheaper than building another garage, that's for sure. And they got, well, one complete vehicle, one body of a vehicle, and one cab of a vehicle, as well as a bunch of engines and junk in here, so cheap storage, I guess. This is going to be a long video. I'll see if I can't edit it down. So, okay. Get my feet placed well. Put my visor down. Yeah, it's a little stubborn. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try just taking the knife and guiding it along the gap. I'm not going to try and really cut, but I'm going to just bring it in here and see if I can maybe loosen up some of this stuff. Actually, you know what I can do is I can just push on it with my hand maybe. Yeah, it's unfortunate when you get people going and throwing caulking on something instead of trying to, you know, find where the real problem is, because that's going to be like glue if there's any on the inside, and that would be probably the first place that a lot of people are going. Oh, there we go, loosened along the bottom. Let's move my suction cup and we'll work it along the edge here. I hope that clack noise wasn't something bad. I can't really tell. It doesn't look like anything's still going cracking on me, but there's a big piece of glass and I'm yanking away on it. I'm sure somebody has a better way of doing it than this. Just gently push on it inside. Now I go back to trying to trim away a little bit more of this stuff. Back to move that damn shield down, because this is where it is going to crack on you. this is actually pretty rusty along the top here, right where it, the top of the windshield gasket meets the body. Shit, I might just scratch the windshield. Yeah, it traps a lot of moisture in there. I would have cut it from the inside where it would be a little bit safer to cut a little bit closer here. I might still have to, but it's also really difficult to get to the part at the bottom of the windshield where the bottom part of the window, this weather stripping is obviously. The scraping noise you're hearing is not me scratching the glass, that's actually me scraping the metal behind the weather strip. This is just a poor choice of the day to do this. It's hot as hell in here. And there's no ventilation. Other than one half of a door open. Of course, anybody from any warmer part of the world is probably laughing. Okay, we're getting there. It's loosening up the gasket a bit here, and I'm not scraping the glass. That's what I really wanted to avoid. Well, if I don't end up using this cab, I guess it's going to go for scrap. But the outside part of the roof is good, so I might cut it up and save some of those bits and pieces like that are still, you know, would make good patch panels, or if I ever did get around to doing an extended cab, be something. Boy, there's a lot of rust here. Okay, let's try and pull this windshield again here. Whoa, that was a truck that actually moved there. I don't know what actually moved. Okay, this is being stubborn. I'm going to have to do some more trimming. I really would prefer not to replace this windshield. Or buy a new one. I suppose this is one of those times when you should pay somebody to do something. You know what they're doing, ostensibly. Although I will admit that I've had more than my fair share of problems with trades in this area. One of these days I'll do the semi-annual furnace repair video. Basically every fall a furnace fails. It's a brand new furnace not that long ago. But it has proven to be the least reliable furnace I'm sure anybody's ever owned. Every year it'll burn out an igniter, or every fall it'll burn out an igniter. Sometimes it'll do two. And it was not a cheap unit either. I might get a screwdriver and just push this in. I think I'm going to probably pause you guys, because this is getting dull for everybody, I'm sure. And I'm going to see if I can work out a different way of cutting out some more of this weather stripping. I'm just going to cut it partway through on the inside, because I can kind of, on the sides, it's not really stuck to the windshield. so I can push it in, and maybe I can use that as a way or means of getting rid of it. And what I should do is I should grab a pair of diagonals, and I can cut that a little bit more easily without really risking chipping this windshield or scratching it on the inside or outside. I'm coming very, very close to doing it if I haven't already. Okay, you guys are getting paused. Okay, so the windshield is loose. I haven't completely broken it free, but I'll show you what I did. I went and I pushed that bit of the weather stripping that was loose along this edge in, cut it there, and then I was able to just pull it along the bottom. And as I pulled it along the bottom, I took these extra pieces of weather strip and I just stuck them underneath the windshield to make sure that it wasn't going to hit the steel frame. Now as I started to pull up along the top there, I could feel the windshield start to move. So I figured at that point it's free enough that I should be able to carry it out. But so I'm going to do that. But I thought I'd just show you one thing that I think is a good accessory for all you YouTubers. And some of you I think have it. It's I think it's called Gorilla Pods or something like that. Something like that. I saw it at the movies once they were advertising it. And basically it's just a flexible mount that you know, you can well, it's a small tripod that's flexible. You can make it grab onto stuff and, you know, have a, you know, reasonably solid mount. I've wrapped it onto a headrest and it did an okay job there. But on stationary stuff it works perfect. You know, like I had it sitting there for the whole time I was doing the video. Now I'm going to get to it. I'm going to pull this window, and I've already got some sawhorses with pipe insulation on them to set it on. So I'm going to go do that, and then we'll have a quick look at it. Make sure that it's not too scratched up. Okay, so windshield's out successfully. I'm going to have to Windex it before I'll be able to tell anything. Probably the best place to look is going to be along the edges for any cracks. But, you know, from what I'm seeing here, it looks like it's okay. There's definitely no stars in it from when it was last used. I have to figure out how I can scrape that off without putting any stress on the glass. That might just come off. I don't really want to use anything. I'll try and get a razor or something like that, I don't really want to use any chemicals either, because you don't want to kind of, like, it's 2 layers of glass with a piece of plastic in between. So you shouldn't solve the plastic if you use solvent on the glass, but if it gets between the layers, it bubbles up. You are not jumping up on this thing. That's why this thing is going to have to go in that truck probably as soon as I'm satisfied that it's clean and intact. I am going to have to glue a new rear windshield or rear view mirror to that spot there, but you can get that adhesive elsewhere. Okay, kitty cat, that's the big door when it's open. That's 13 feet tall by, I think it's 12 feet wide, 11 feet wide. So it's a pretty big door. And only binds a little bit because the wheel is broken on that side. Later, guys. This might be it for today. I'll see what's going on. There's still a lot more day left in today, but I have to figure out what I'm doing with that windshield. I don't want to leave it too long.